All right, so if you own a resin printer, at some point in time, you're going to need to replace the clear plastic on the bottom of your resin vat. For me, this one has to be replaced because I screwed up and ran my printer out of resin because I forgot to hollow a model and miscalculated the amount of resin that I was going to need. When it ran out of resin, the little remnants that were left down here in the tank, it solidified and stuck to the FEP sheet, and I could not get it off of there. And in the process of trying to get those little balls of cured resin out of there, I stretched the FEP sheet, so now it's all screwed up and it's got to be replaced. What is the FEP sheet? What's it stand for? I don't know. I didn't Google it. For me, it stands for the clear sheet of plastic on the bottom of my resin tank. To replace it, it's pretty simple. You need a little container to put all your screws in. You're going to want a nice sharp hobby knife. This one's from Gerber, that's what I'm going to use. You want a good quality set of Allen wrenches or hex wrenches, whatever you want to call them. Mine are just some Craftsman ones that I got off of Amazon, metric for this. I believe most of it's going to be 2.5 and 3 millimeter metric hex or Allen wrenches. You want some isopropyl alcohol to clean up. When you remove the FEP sheet, there's going to be resin underneath of it. You want to clean that off. And of course, you're going to need a new FEP sheet. Oh, and some towels. You want a clean work surface as well. I got this piece of hardboard down here that I wiped off. I sprayed it down with isopropyl alcohol, wiped it all off. You want it to be a completely dust-free environment. That is probably one of the most important things. These FEP sheets are just static energy. They will just suck dust to them. So if you're working on any surface that's got dust, it's going to stick to your FEP sheet, and that's got to be cleaned off before you put it back in your printer. Otherwise, it's going to screw up your printer. I am working in what is also a wood shop, so there's dust everywhere in here, so trying to find a clean work surface can be a little challenging from time to time. But let's get into this. I'll move the camera around and we'll replace this FEP sheet. All right, so you got to start by getting all the screws out. Actually, what we're going to do, we're going to start just cut that old FEP sheet off here and get rid of it. That's not necessary, it's just kind of fun to cut. All right, 3 millimeter, you got these 4 little screws on the outside that are essentially the feet for this thing. I do not recommend using the tools that come with your printer because the wrenches that come with it are crap and they will strip your screws out really easily. I don't recommend using power tools because it's really easy to accidentally strip one of these out. And you're gonna go from, a half an hour job into an all-day nightmare trying to extract a stripped out screw. If you don't have the specialized tools to get a stripped out screw out, you're kind of screwed. All right, so all the screws are out on the metal gasket. So this will just lift out of the printer. And this is where you're going to want a rag and some of that alcohol. Because you're always going to get resin that leaks in just a little bit underneath of here. And before I reassemble, I like to make sure that this surface is clean. All right, we don't need the frame for the moment. And then we also want to clean the bottom side of the gasket. Now that this is out, this is a 2-piece frame. Top and bottom, that's what's going to sandwich the FEP sheet together. So, got to take that apart now. The 10,000 screws are out. So now we can separate these guys. Get rid of that. Clean the mating surfaces of it. I also like to re-wipe down my work area because little bits of resin and crap. All right, so we are ready for the new FEP sheet. All right, it's going to have protective coating on it on both sides. Lay it over to where it is overlapping on all edges. Then flip your two sheets back together. Take your hobby knife and be very careful. Go in I like to start on opposite corners. What you do is just stab down through the hole and cut an X in it so the screw can get down in there. And they can be a little bit of a pain to start because you're trying to thread into the threads and through the FEP that you just cut, but it's not bad. Now don't tighten down the first one. You don't want to tighten them down until you have everything in, otherwise you can screw up your alignment. So just get it started. And it's something that's, you got to kind of do it. It's hard to explain, but there's a bit of a feel to it. So don't just ram it in there and just start trying to freaking twist it. You might cross thread these things. So just go slow and let it just find the threads itself. And once it starts to thread, you'll be able to tell it's going in because it threads in relatively simple when it finds its home and starts threading in. Just don't force it. Once again, if you cross thread it, then you're kind of screwed. All right, those guys are in there loose. It's not going to be able to move around much on us. So now we can go through and cut the rest of our holes. Just be real careful. Take your time so you don't accidentally slip and pierce your brand new FEP sheet. All the screws are in. Now just go through and just snug them up. All right, screws are tight. Now carefully trace around the outside here and remove the excess FEP sheet. Flip her over, and then we got to go through and cut the holes on this side. Holes are cut. Now it's time for the frame. You really got to push down on this frame to get these screws started because you're putting the tension onto the FEP sheet. All right, all the side screws are started. Now I can go through and get the rest of the screws in. Put them in just snug. Don't tighten them. You want to get them all in to where they're just started, to where they're just barely starting to pull down, because then we want to do a cross pattern because we want to pull this thing down evenly. So now all the screws are in, so I like to start on one side and then jump over to the other side and tighten down these two and then these two, but I don't tighten them all the way down, just a little bit. Then I'll jump over to the other side over here, give these a little snug, jump over to this side, give these a little snug. Then I will do the outer ones, and I will just do that pattern around and around until I get everything tight, because you just want to pull it down evenly. You don't want to just start on this screw, tighten it down, start on this screw, tighten it down. It probably will be all right, but you want this thing stretched evenly all the way across. So just do a pattern so it pulls down at the same rate. All right, our FEP sheet is in. We are almost done and ready to print. One final step. I always use this PTFE lubricant. Put a little bit of it around on a rag and then just wipe down the inside of your FEP sheet. This will help keep the resin from curing to it, but does not affect your prints in any way. And that will dry up, and this can go back in the printer. And we are ready to start printing. I hope you learned something, and don't be intimidated by it. It's really not that hard. It's just a little time consuming. Anyways, like, subscribe. See you next time.